Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James Nelson Brink, and we are one. So today, I want to talk about the news on the Steam Deck, the weekly news, that is. This week, we had Spider-Man, we had Cult of the Lamb, and then we also had some controller support news that's very exciting, actually. And then also, I am going to do a highlight at the end of the video on an accessory that I like. So, that's for the Steam Deck, that is, by the way. So let's get into it, but before we do that, make sure to like, subscribe, bash that bell with your crowbar. Now we can get into the meat of this video. Okay, first up is Spider-Man Remastered on Steam, on PC. It is coming. Sony has given us the blessing of another game from their lineup. Okay, first up, how does it play on the Steam Deck? It plays really well. And what I recommend is to play it on medium settings, which is the default settings. Make sure they have the FSR 2.0 enabled, which comes by default, and then set the refresh rate to 45 in both the in-game and also on the quick access menu in the Steam Deck. And then you should get about a 40 frames per second. It can drop to 30 when you're outside, but it averages about 40, 45. It just all depends. Outdoors, when you're swinging and going really fast, it tends to lag as it loads in areas of the map. And then inside, it tends to do a lot better. But I'm really surprised at how well the deck handles in this game. It's really fun on the deck. Honestly, this is going to be a game that I'm going to continue to play. And if you didn't watch my stream, I did set it up. It took me a little while to unpack on a slower SD card. But you know what? It is still so much fun. So with that, let's swing into the recommended or not on this. I will say this is a must-buy day one when you have a Steam Deck. If you like just any type of superhero game that also has the beat-em-up kind of action, right, where you can go and beat up the bad guys, sling them, whatever it is, like the action in this is really fun. That's the part I like about it the most, honestly. The slinging's the hardest part, where you have to sling across the city. Gets a little difficult at times, or just more or less kind of annoying, but I definitely recommend this game to about anyone that has seen the footage and thinks that might be interesting. The story is good, the gameplay is good so far, and it's just a good game for the deck. It's definitely going to be in that top probably 10 list right now of like games that are really good on the deck. Okay, let's move on to the next game, Cult of the Lamb. This game is a roguelike action adventure game that is developed by indie game developer Massive Monster, and it's published by Devolver Digital. The game was released on August 11th, 2022, so, a couple days ago if you're watching this the day of, and it was, Windows, Nintendo, Switch, that is, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X, and with the Windows release comes on the deck, and it works great on the deck. It is not fully verified, but it is, for the most part, works fine, honestly. It has some weird inputs for the text. Honestly, I haven't seen any issues yet. And so, a full-on, I definitely put my stamp of approval on this. It can play maxed out on it. Once again, you got to remember, it's an indie game. It is not like a complex game like Spider-Man, but it is really fun. It looks really beautiful, and you can run it at 60 frames per second with just everything maxed out. Or you can adjust those settings to get better battery life and still have it look pretty good. You don't need to run this thing at 60 if you don't want. You don't need to run a couple of settings that will decrease your battery performance with this game, which is nice. These types of games are nice on the deck. Now, the resolution starts out defaulted at a lower resolution, so you might be weirded out at first when you start this up. So just make sure to bump that resolution up to a 1280 by 800. And then let's get into a little bit of what the news has been talking about this. And really, honestly, the biggest thing is this is getting 9s out of 10s typically from a lot of the just industry, the news industry. The game journalists are giving it around 9 out of 10. They're really liking it. It's a really hot game. I agree. I've played about an hour or two, and I really like the game. What makes it so special, the game follows a possessed lamb who is saved from death by a godlike stranger named the One Who Waits, and must repay their debt by creating a loyal following in its name. And so you're essentially this cult leader. You have to go around recruiting members to the cult, and how you do it is just kind of this whimsical, also kind of a demonic way. So it has like a cutesy side, and then also you're like, this is actually kind of disturbing if you think about this, but it's fun. And what you do with those cult members is that you can then use them to gather resources and to build up your city base. And then you can go out and do dungeon crawlers. It's really fun. I like these types of games where you get both these concepts of both building and also just going out and slaying the baddies and getting more followers. It's a fun game. Resource management along with slaying can get much better on the deck with better battery life. With just it works good. It's a good game, and it's a game that will probably work on a lot of other devices besides the Steam Deck because it's not very demanding. Also, I recommend this as a must buy for roguelike game likers out there, people that love those types of games. And honestly, if you don't, this might be a good game to kind of get your foot in the door on some of these mechanics, because it's easy enough that has really good just introductory to the whole game mechanics, and it's fun. So definitely check both those games out, Spider-Man Remastered and Cult of the Lamb. And then if there's any other games I missed over the next few weeks, let me know in the comments below. I always want to make sure that I'm trying to cover the most I can on the Steam Deck. Okay, next up is a couple of patch notes, and I'm breaking these off into a little bit different things. So we got some fixes in the past week or two on improved performance for Forza Horizon 5, and the patch is on the preview channel. So you might not see the difference yet, but unless you're on the preview channel of the Steam Deck updates, and you can find that in the settings, system, and Steam update channel section in your deck. You will see, from my understanding, a pretty decent increase in performance, or at least balanced performance, along with less crashing is also another thing that I've heard be reported, that it crashes less in this game. So good news for Forza Horizon 5. Okay, next up are keyboard updates, and this patch affects the beta and preview channels. So once again, if you're unstable, you're not going to be getting these updates unless you switch over to beta and preview. But the nice thing about those channels is that they eventually get moved into stable. So eventually you'll be seeing these updates. Okay, first up is fixed focus issue when tapping and show hide password button. That's one that I've seen before. It's one I've talked about before, and it's really nice to see that they're fixing this kind of just weird issue that's lingered forever. Remove the gap between keys on the virtual keyboard for improved typing. That's another interesting one, but so far it seems to be decent and to track. And then that's it for the keyboard updates. Let's go into a really exciting portion of this, and that is Steam controller, or just controller updates, that is, for the Steam client, and that moves over to the Steam Deck. Steam Joy-Con and other Nintendo controllers are supported now. So this little thing, bad little thing right here, bad boy, it is now supported on the Steam Deck. Now, an extra thing about this that you might not know is that this thing can be either single or dual. So if you have both the controllers for this, you can use it as a normal controller, or if you want to use it as just like a microcontroller, or just a controller with a couple of buttons on it for some of those mini game type games, you can just hook up one and play that way. It's awesome. I haven't tested it out fully, but it does sound like it works decent. So I don't know if there's any bugs related to like doing like the one and trying to do multiple. All I know is keep it up, Steam, Valve. You guys are killing it, in my opinion. Okay, next up is the Steam Deck hits 4,500 plus games officially verified or playable. This is a big milestone, in my opinion, because it wasn't too long ago that it was under 1,000 verified and playable. We are up to 4,500, and if they keep this up, we're going to have a great library. Obviously, these are all pre-existing games that have existed for decades. And so it's not like it's the most astonishing. It's like, oh, they've released that many games in this short amount of time. But it is now bigger than the Nintendo Switch library, according to my knowledge. So great job, Valve, once again. And to all the people that want to have, a pretty beefy library on the go. So this is just great news. And it just continues to climb. And hopefully with the improvements to Proton, we're going to see a lot more of these games get supported quicker, faster, and just out of the box. Like every time they improve Proton, it's just going to get that much better. So great to see it. We're going to have SteamOS is going to be definitely a future OS for gaming. It's awesome. Okay, last but not least, I want to, like I said in the beginning of this, in the intro, I want to include accessory highlights and some other highlights in these weekly kind of news updates. And the first one up is one that I already created a video on, and that is the Tom Talk sling case that I did a review on. I really like it. I think it is a great soft case, carrying case, day pack that you can take your deck, some other devices potentially in, and just a couple other things. I can fit my keyboard, my mouse, and my deck in it, along with the power cords and just a couple other things, and I can just sling it on my back. It's not as big as a backpack, and so I can go and just game wherever I want, and it's easy. I really like this case, and I definitely recommend it. So check out that review. I'll have it in the description below. And that is it for the news for this week. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below. This is still we're always getting good news, good games. Things are just looking good for Steam Deck users, and I hope that the community continues to grow. I hope you continue to like your Steam Deck, or hopefully you will like your Steam Deck in the near future, as Valve, they're committed to try to get the Steam Deck into everyone's hands by the end of the year. So it's all good news. Let me know all your guys' good news, bad news, whatever it is in the comments below. I just want to know what I've missed. So thank you guys for watching. Check out my other videos. Check out the description below. There is a Discord link there if you always want to chat with us on Discord or join one of our events. And with that, I'm out. Peace out. Later.